Hello my sweet friends, welcome back to my channel and happy Wednesday to all of you. If you're new around here, welcome. I hope you will consider hitting that subscribe button and join our crafty little family because we really do have the best peeps. So I have a very sweet flip folio for you today, and I created this with some stash papers and stickers from Little Birdie Crafts. The whole plan behind this book really is just the struggle to find that elusive 110-pound cardstock. I am struggling just as much as you all now. I was able to find it from Joann's for a bit, but now it doesn't seem to be as available as it was. So I went on to the Amazons and I purchased what was advertised to be 110-pound paper. It was not inexpensive. It was an investment. And so I did purchase a $38 pack of paper, and that is kind of cringe for me. But I was excited to at least be able to continue working with that. It did arrive, and alas, it was not 110-pound paper. It was pretty much 65-pound weight cardstock, and I was really frustrated when I opened that package because I don't think that they represented it to be exactly what it was going to be when it showed up. I was planning to return it, but the more I thought about it, I did think I could work with the size of paper. It was 11 by 17, and so I thought I would be able to utilize that for projects that I would typically have to join pages together to get the width and the height that I needed for folding parts. And it does seem to be pretty smooth, so I think I will be able to print on it as well, and so that's going to be a possible substitute for the Nina Solar White that I would typically purchase for printing for my kids. So that was just really making a short story long, but I just wanted you all to know that I am feeling the pressure to get supplies just like you guys. And so I think when you are not able to get things that you are more confident in, I know that I really like the Park Lane 110-pound paper from Joann's, that I purchased something without seeing it, and although it didn't work out as I had hoped, I will still be able to utilize it. So maybe the Amazon isn't the worst place to find paper. So let me just flip through this real quick. This is a obviously baby themed folio, and I think it turned out really cute. It has many flip portions, and this goes all back into that I want to make things that are difficult to photograph, so has a lot of working parts and areas that are long and skinny, but I did use those sweet stickers to accent the pattern paper. And so this will flip up now and have a very sweet feature area with those special stickers and the layers of paper. And then this page will also open, and I've got myself some tuck spots here for pictures that I don't want adhered to the page. So this was actually pretty easy to make once I had the math down, and I think it's pretty versatile. You can swap out whatever collection or theme or holiday that you like, as long as you find some fun accent stickers for adding the details. So if you're interested in creating this book as well, stick with me and we will make it together. So before I get started, I did want to very quickly show you the supplies that I'm using today, and I'm going to be using a set of Little Birdie Crafts stickers. Now, I did use the baby boy version, and I only had one, so I wasn't able to show you that full sheet, but the baby girl set is just the same stickers, but in a pink palette. So you can see that I'll have a lot of different elements to work with, and some of them are very glittery, which is a lot of extra added detail. I'm going to be altering these a little bit further on, but I'll let you know how I make them work better for my project. And so for the baby boy album, I am pairing it with this authentic swaddle. This is a great 6x6 paper pad. The prints are very small, so that worked well for my smaller size flip book. And of course, they have the girl swaddle as well. And so these are very similar patterns, just in a different color palette. So this is a great way to think about those B-sides as well. And you have your page cut. You can think about that B size and utilize your offcuts for layering patterns. So that's an extra way to get through some more of those scraps. So here's that dreaded piece of paper. So it is not 110 pound, like I mentioned before. I would say very definitely 65 pound weight. So for my album bases, I am often having to join multiple pieces of paper together to get the width that I need for all of these moving parts and the folding. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity to try some new to me bases that I can just utilize this one sheet. So onto the base. Now I had one additional challenge, but it was pretty easy to overcome in that I don't have a paper cutter that is 17 inches wide. You can see that it is too wide to even fit on screen at one time. So I wound up doing a lot of the scoring and cutting as I went along so that I could fold it and get it to fit. And I have a 12 by 12 guillotine cutter. You guys have seen that several times. And so as long as I was able to get it to fold a little, I had enough room to work that into the cutter. So my plan is to create a flip book that is 5 by 5, and I do have to work in enough in the spine here so that I will have enough room inside for all the paper layering that I want to do. So once I decided on a 5 by 5 book, I also decided that I needed the inner pages to be a little bit less deep, so that I could fold this up so that my book would keep a nice shape. So first thing I did was I brought it to my scoreboard, and I have put the lines on this for you so that it will be easier to see where I'm scoring and then the portions that I'm going to have to remove to get this to fold up correctly. So the first score, and so I have this on the landscape position. That's when you know you take too many pictures when you think of portrait and landscape. But I've got the wider side up first. And so my first score line is going to be at 5. And then the second one is at 5 1/4 because my inside spines are going to be 1/4 of an inch so that I could build 2 of them up and have room on the outside for it to fold. So the next one that I want to put in is going to be 5 1/4. So we're still going to keep that 5-inch page portion. And so 5 1/4 and then 5 1/2. And so that's going to be my 1/4 inch for both of those sections. And then just to make my life easier, I shifted this down because I don't, like I said, have enough room on these tools to get the whole 17 inches. But then I moved it to 6, and then I measured over my 5 again, so I wound up at 11. And I did score this just so that I could give myself a cutting guide. And I lined up this portion here where I have it marked out on my guillotine cutter, and then I removed that. Then I flipped it over to the portrait side, and I put my first score in at 5. I did have to shift the paper up once I had my score lines in so that I could get them to be the full length of the paper, and that was no problem. I just kept it positioned on the side here, and all of the marks were evenly spaced. So first one at 5, and then the second one at 5 1/2. So now we're going to have a 1/2 inch to accommodate both of those sides that were 1/4. And then I shifted it over again just to make the math a little easier. And I went at 11 so that I still have my 5-inch page. This left me a 1/2 inch on this side, and you can see I've marked that out with my pencil. I went ahead and folded this up now on one of those score lines, and this was enough to get it to fit into my 12-inch guillotine. So for the next step, I just positioned it so that I could fold up the side, and then I removed everywhere here that had those marks. So let me show you what I wind up with. So I've got this divided basically into top and bottom, and you can see where this would line up. I've removed this portion and this portion, and then the side and the very top. So basically I have a book that will fold in to itself and then fold down, and then this will fold in as well. So I know that you are thinking to yourself that the 65-pound weight cardstock really is not a very sturdy base, and I agree with you on that. And so here's where I've decided to bring in a little of that 110 pound, just so that I could supplement that 65-pound weight and make it very sturdy. So the first thing I want to think about is exactly where it will matter the most to have a nicer, thicker page added. So obviously I'm going to put one on the cover, and as I do, I have it folded so that I can have a nice finished edge here where you will be handling it the most. So this is the 110 pound. It's 10 inches wide by 5 inches tall, and then I scored it at 5. I put my adhesive all the way around both portions, but I only pulled the tape backing off one side, and I'm going to work on that one first because it will be easier to position this if I don't have to wrangle all that adhesive at one time. And I'm going to be going in with my 2 glue plan, and that way for the cover I am confident this will be well adhered. So let's go ahead and add that to here. Keep your fingers out of the adhesive. Putting this straight across so that it goes on square. Then I'll just press that down into place. The tape is going to hold it in place while the glue sets up, so we can continue to work along. And now is the time to take the backing off of this side. Got a few peeps did mention in the comments that they did like the new background, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it for now, as long as I can keep all of this glue off of it and the glitter. So hopefully it will stay clean a little bit longer. This is the only place that I am going to resort to that 2 glue plan, just because this is a little bit heavier and I want it to be well secured. So I just folded that over, and this is going to be the front cover, and this is a good place to have a nice sturdy and well finished edge. So the next piece that I want to have a kind of enforced layer is this piece. And because these 2 pieces will open, I don't want those to be fragile. So I'm going to put one here. I cut my 110 pound cardstock to be 5 inches square. So this is going to cover the entire page, and I don't have to worry about centering it. I'm just putting it on there. The second one will go here. And then the last one I have is going to go on the back, because that just makes sense to reinforce that section. Oh, I did forget one. Let me just open this up real quick. This is going to be the second flap page that opens, and I do want to make sure that that is nice and sturdy as well. So I did not add a lot of 110-pound cardstock. I was able to use this very intentionally where it will matter the most. So this is much sturdier now and thicker, and we can begin to add our paper layers. So another great thing about this particular book is all the pages are going to be the same size, and so you only need one set of measurements to get all of these covered with the cardstock and the pattern paper. And you can even maybe work ahead and plan to take this project along with you if you go to a crop or to a friend's. It's just really a very easy to prepare project. So the first page, of course, is going to be the cover, so we need to skip that. And so I want to work along here and cover these inside pages. So like I said, I did use that 6x6 paper pad. Use any collection you like. This would be great for any holiday, any theme that you have in for 12x12 paper. It works well too, because then you have some additional offcuts to use for your layering. And I'm going to use a nice gray cardstock throughout, just because I think that it gives it a more consistent look. So our cardstock is 4 7/8 inch square, and the pattern paper is 4 3/4. And now we're done with the measurement. How easy is that? What I want to do is think about how all of these pages show together. So I'm very aware of creating a palette, of creating these combinations that are either the same or similar so that they work together. And I've got the same pattern for the front of this flap page. And I'll just go ahead and center that on my pages. Remember, those were 5 inches, so we're going to get all of those nice borders that I really like. I've got one more of that same page for this side as well. And then I want to add a different pattern for this, because we're going to use this as a feature when we continue to add the finishing details. So this is a really sweet little print with a very subtle dot in the background, and I just absolutely love that. So this is going to be the first set of pages that open, and then we'll go ahead and finish the details when we get all of these surfaces covered. And I am so happy with how thick it's already starting to become. Now remember, this book will open up for like a top folding card first. And I want to utilize this top page as kind of a place to feature some of those special stickers. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that with the pattern paper. And then add my layering pattern with a pretty scalloped edge square that has the same cardstock and then a additional pattern for the inside. You don't need to have a die. You could just cut that from a nice crisp white cardstock, but I do think that white layer helps to break up those busy patterns. So even if you don't have a die, I would recommend that you go ahead and add that additional cardstock layer. So this is going to be right in the middle, and we'll use that to feature some of those special stickers as we work along. And I'm going to continue to cover these pages. So this is just a similar kind of page design, and I'm swapping out the patterns, just mix and matching as I go. And I am being aware that I'm matching some geometrics with the stripes so that I can keep those from looking too busy. I'll do the same for this page, so they will be seen together. And I've got one more set of these pages to cover the inside of this flip portion. It's just a different combination of those patterns so that I get a different but similar look. And so this is going to be the last full-size page for the inside, and I want to treat these with some additional finishing features. So my first page in the middle is just going to get a smaller scalloped edge square, and that will be right in the middle. And then I'm going to use 2 additional squares made the same with the same pattern, but I want to add my adhesive to the bottom and one side only, so that when it is adhered to this page, I can use this as a tuck spot. So if there are pictures that I don't want to adhere to the page, or a larger picture, or possibly multiple pictures, I'll be able to just tuck those in, and that will keep them secure when the book is folded up. So I know that I want to put my wet adhesive here and here, not going too close to the edge so that it doesn't splooge out. And I do want to position this slightly left and lower than the center, just so that if there are some larger pictures, there will be room inside. And I'll just hold this until the glue sets up, because we're not using the double-sided adhesive as well. I just want to make sure that this has really good contact. I would also make sure that this was well and truly dried before you add anything to that tuck spot, to make sure that you don't accidentally glue anything in there. So let's do the same process for the outside page on the right, but we'll keep in mind where that glue needs to go, and position this one here as well. So just pull this a little bit closer so I can see over top. Okay, so once again, I'll just press that down and hold that just for a bit so that it will set up. This is also a good time to add the back of this, so you want to have a nice finished back. And the next thing I want to do is begin to add those stickers. And so I have one planned for here, and I'm going to do a similar plan for this circle with the moon. I'm going to just add my adhesive to the side and the bottom, and that way we can use this as a tuck spot as well. So let's just go ahead and add this right to the bottom corner. And this will be a really nice place for a special photo to be added. So I think this is set up pretty well, and I can continue to move along. Let's fold up the front portion and then flip it to our feature page. This is where I wanted to adhere that very special stork sticker, and from the package itself there was only one adhesive square that was dimensional, and so I went ahead and I took that off and I replaced it with quite a few so that it would be well supported even when it is closed in a book. And so my first one, I think I'm going to add right here at the bottom, and I'm being careful to make sure that all the fragile bits are well inside. And then I'm going to balance that one with the clouds and the sun, and that can go up here. This particular page is fairly non-contrasting, so if you wanted to write directly on it, I think this would be a great opportunity to include some journaling. So now we've got that page done, and I want to flip to the middle here. I have a little banner shape that is super sweet, and I'm going to use this to kind of tuck right into the corner. And then there were some additional stars as part of that set. You see here, there was only one foam spacer, but I think that is sufficient. And these were also a little bit less dimensional, so I thought they would be kind of ideal for layering. And so as I'm doing this, I am being very careful to make sure that I don't have two stickers that would touch each other, because they would probably get caught on each other and cause a tear. So I've got just a couple of additional dimensional stickers here, and I thought it would be nice to add them to kind of decorate the top corners here. And so I've got one of the clouds for each of the pages and one of those stars. And remember that I am keeping an eye on where these are going to fall. This one will close up, but it will be at the top, so that is not going to get caught on the following page. Here is the star, and I think that looks pretty sweet. And this leaves room for some additional larger photos. So now would be the time you want to bring in your trim if you're going to use a ribbon closer, which of course I really like to do. This one happens to be the blue Topaz stitched satin from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and I do like to add a generous amount so that I can tie a really nice size bow. So I'll just go ahead and clip this where I think it will be enough, and then I will add just a bit of hot glue because I want to tack this into place and hold it where I want it, and the final layer of cardstock will hold it in place. So I'm only going to be putting that here on the front because this will flip up. And so the next thing I want to add is that same blue plaid that we used on the back cover, and I think this will be easier to work on if I flip that portion open. So I'm just going to use all of my nice borders, and this is going to act as the front cover. I'm so happy that I have that finished edge for the right hand side because that's where it's going to be opened, and so that will take the most wear. I've got another one of those squares with a scalloped edge, and I want to add this directly into the center, and then I'm going to add my dimensional layer for the front. It's just another layer of that additional pattern, and the stickers for the cover are just a very sweet sentiment. They had only one foam spacer, and so they were not going to be well supported. I did not plan to cut tiny little foam squares to match up behind those letters, so I just went ahead and peeled that one foam tab off and adhered these with some Tombow just right flat onto that pattern paper, and I think it looks just fine. So I'm centering that into that square, and that will be the focal image. Next, I want to bring in a couple of flower arrangements, and you can see now that I have offset these words just slightly so that I would leave room in the corners for my flowers, and I don't want to cover up too much of that word, so I just kind of shifted them so that I would have more room. And so this is just a combination of a handmade flower with some stash flowers. I had these little petaloo flowers, and I thought they kind of went along with the more vintagey vibe of that plaid. Very small foliage. I don't have big flourishes this time because there's just not enough room, but I did have a little space for some twine bows, and so I'm going to use two, and that will help to balance that cover. If you hear that noise in the background, it is the tractor because Tech Hubby is outside working in the yard. Even though these are smaller, I'm still using my hot glue to adhere them. To continue on with the moon theme from the inside and the stars, I've got a couple of moon charms here, and I did tie those like I do with some string so that I can attach them to the corner in just one piece. I'm holding that in place so that I can attach that string to the hot glue and it will land exactly where I want it to be. Now I need to come in and remove that excess string and cover the cut edge of that string with a vintage button. Even though this is a small book, I do have room for some additional details, and I thought I would bring in a couple of sequins. So I'll just add 3, and of course I'm going to adhere those with my Tombow. So let's just put 1 on that raised section and then bring 2 down to the cover. And that's all for our flip folio today. This really did turn out to be very nice and heavy and chunky and sturdy, and I was able to work in a lot of fun details with those stickers from Little Birdie Crafts. So once you have your album created, you can fill it up with your pictures and memories. This would make a really sweet gift, or keep it for yourself as an untraditional style scrapbook. So if you enjoyed this project, make sure you let me know in the comments and leave me a big thumbs up for this tutorial. You can find links to all our social media sites in the description below. And if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.